Right, this is the second part of the demonstration about creating and dealing with a simple watermark. So you'll see that this has now had a chance to dry, and we've got this very typical watermark effect. We also have a watermark on the top edge, and that has partly been formed, partly by the fact that I've had to take the paper down. This paper is very prone to cockling up. But also, while I was demonstrating this, I left it with a little puddle of water paint here, and it is drawn onto the edge of the paint surface as it dries. So again, remember that wetter paint or water will follow and move into paint that is drying, paint that is thinner. So I've now got this to this stage, and it's dry, so I've allowed it to dry completely. I've now got a slightly bigger brush, so this is, I think, a size 12. The one I was working with before was a size 8. Doesn't matter, I work often with a small brush just to prove that it isn't the size of the brush that makes the difference, it is the amount of paint you keep in it. So what I'm going to do with this surface now is cover it with water very quickly. I don't want to put any pressure on this brush. I don't want to push at all. I'm just putting that across really wet, really full of water. So I make it really wet, follow through, just keep going. I don't want to put any pressure on so I don't affect any of the paint surface. All I'm really doing is wetting the paper surface without affecting the pigment in any way at this stage. So we're going to wet that really nicely. Just get it evenly wet, and I'm just going to bend my head down to check that I haven't got any dry spots. Then I'm going to go onto my slightly smaller brush, and I'm going to make sure it is wet before I do anything. So it has got to be damp. Don't go in with a dry brush or you'll just lift. And then I'm going to take the edge of the brush, and I'm just going to work along the edge of the watermark. And when I see that paint move, I'm going to move on. So I'm not going to spend too long on any one spot. I'm just going to move the paint, watch it shift. Some colours are more amenable to being moved than others. Some colours will stain, and if it is a staining colour that you've got the effect with, then unfortunately you won't be able to do this. It will not do it, and you'll just have to see if there's another way to disguise it. So now we've shifted the paint, and again, that's now moving. That will find its own level, so I'm not going to do anything with it. Don't touch it. Don't try and add in colour. Don't try and do anything else at this stage. Still have the watermark along this top edge, where when I was creating this watermark originally, I had to leave it sitting in dampness. So while this is still wet, I can do the same effect on this edge. Move it, move on, move it, move on. Blues are quite amenable usually to being softened. So I'm just going to go the way along that edge, softening it. You may not get a perfect effect, but it will certainly be better than the watermark that you had originally. Again, you can see I have a excess of water there. I'm just going to tuck my brush under the piece of paper to lift it, because I don't want to create another watermark. So basically, at this stage, you allow it to dry again. So at each stage, it's probably best to let the surface dry, let it stabilise itself, don't fiddle with it, because sometimes you get paper that is part drying. So it's very important to allow everything to dry out completely. So I'm going to allow that to dry out completely. Then I would reassess. I might need to do that process again. So I might need to re-wet the whole lot, jiggle the paint a little bit more, let it dry. Until I got something even. Obviously, this would maybe be a sky or something, and you'd have something at the bottom here that you would be working round. But always, if I've got an area that has this problem, I would wet the whole area. In this case, it's the whole page. Wet the whole area, even if the paint you're shifting is only in one corner, still wet the whole lot, because that paint can drift. And what you don't want it to do is to find an edge of dry paint water. If it finds an edge, it will form a hard line. So I always wet the whole surface, jiggle the paint, let it dry, reassess, and do that however many times I need to. Okay.